Have you ever wished you could walk through the chaos and never flinch? To hear criticism and not shrink? To be betrayed and not break? Imagine no one having power over your peace, not their opinions, their rejection, or even their cruelty. That power doesn't come from silence. It comes from mastery. It's time to learn the mindset that makes you unshakable, the strength that makes you untouchable. Here are 7 timeless truths that will show you how to never get angry or bothered by anyone ever again. Most people believe that anger is automatic, that when someone wrongs us, disrespects us, or pushes our buttons, we have to get mad, that it's just natural to erupt. But here's the uncomfortable truth, that few dare to accepting anger is not automatic. It's chosen. You may not choose the moment. You may not choose the insult, the betrayal, or the disrespect. But you absolutely choose how you respond. Let's break that down. Imagine a man walking through a marketplace. A stranger bumps into him without apology. Instantly, he has a surge of emotion. In that space, just seconds long, a decision is made. He can lash out or let go. He can internalize it or release it. But he chooses, always. And so do you. What we often mistake for triggers are really just rehearsed reactions. You get angry because your subconscious has practiced that response so many times, it feels involuntary. But the power of being human is in that divine gap between stimulus and response. That space is where you take your life back. Think back. You weren't born angry. You didn't enter this world with bitterness or blame. You learned it from how your parents fought, from how teachers disciplined, from how the world modeled defensiveness as strength. Over time, the pattern settled in. It became your emotional muscle memory. But muscle memory can be retrained. And that begins with awareness. Start by catching yourself in the moment. The next time someone says something offensive, pause, breathe, feel the familiar rise of heat. But don't act, just observe. Like a scientist watching an experiment. The more you practice this pause, the more you realize that the feeling doesn't control you. It's like a wave. It rises, crests, and if you don't feed it, it falls. Society glorifies outrage. Entire industries are built on it. News, politics, entertainment. If you don't react, people say you're weak. If you don't fight back, they say you don't care. But consider this. Is a roaring fire stronger than a still mountain? Is the wind more stable than the rooted oak? We get angry because we feel our boundaries have been crossed. But here's the insight most never considered. When you are grounded in who you are, no one can truly cross you. Their words may echo, but they never reach your core. Why? Because you're not controlled by what's external. You're anchored internally. This is emotional independence. You don't need to kill anger. You don't need to suppress it. What you need is command. Think of yourself as the captain of a great ship. The waves will come. The storms may rage, but you hold the wheel. To gain that level of mastery, do this 5 minutes of silence in the morning to meet yourself before the world does. I feel angry is different than I am angry. Naming creates distance. The next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember this. You don't have to attend every emotional argument you're invited to. You can walk away, not because you're afraid, but because you are free. And freedom, true freedom, is when no one, not even your worst enemy, can steal your peace. Have you ever noticed how easily you're thrown off balance when someone criticizes you, ignores you, or speaks to you in a way you don't like? Most of the emotional pain we experience in life doesn't come from what others do. It comes from how we interpret it. And often we make it all about us. But here's the liberating true thing. What people do is more about them than is about you. Think about that for a moment. A rude cashier, a dismissive friend, a critical parent. These people are acting out their own inner storms. And yet, we absorb their behavior as if it's a commentary on our worth. That's the trap. We suffer because we personalize. Have you ever noticed how easily you're thrown off balance when someone criticizes you, ignores you, or speaks to you in a way you don't like? Most of the emotional pain we experience in life doesn't come from what others do. It comes from how we interpret it. And often we make it all about us. But here's the liberating truth. What people do is more about them than it is about you. Think about that for a moment. A rude cashier, a dismissive friend, a critical parent. These people are acting out their own inner storms. And yet, we absorb their behavior as if it's a commentary on our worth. That's the trap. We suffer because we personalize. Let's say someone says, I don't like your idea. Instead of reacting with, why are they attacking me? What have you asked? What are they actually trying to express? This shift alone changes everything. You stop hearing conflict as combat and start seeing it as information. You stop taking things as insults and start recognizing projections. Because more often than not, people are simply expressing their own wounds, frustrations, and insecurities. You just happen to be in the vicinity. This is not to say you tolerate disrespect or stay in toxic environments, but it is to say you've stopped taking it personally. Whenever you feel hurt or offended, ask yourself, what am I making this mean about me? You'll often discover an old wound has been activated, not a real threat. Not everything needs your interpretation. Try assuming a neutral stance. The email wasn't cold. It was brief. The tone wasn't hostile. It was tired. Give people the benefit of neutrality. This may sound harsh, but it's freeing. People are thinking about themselves far more than they're thinking about you. Their moods, behaviors, and attitudes are shaped by their reality, not yours. You can care without being consumed. You can listen without absorbing. Emotional distance allows you to witness instead of react. When you stop taking everything personally, you become emotionally bulletproof. You no longer dance to other people's emotional music. You stop bleeding from wounds that weren't yours to begin with. Imagine how different your life would feel if you weren't constantly triggered by opinions, glances, or misunderstandings. You'd gain back your time, your energy, and, most importantly, your peace. And peace, real peace, is not a passive state. It's power. They said what they said. I remain who I am. That's emotional maturity. That's personal evolution. If there's one great misunderstanding that causes endless frustration and anger in life, it is the belief that we can control people, outcomes, or circumstances. We cling to the idea that if we say the right thing, do the right thing, or push hard enough, we can bend the world to our liking. But here's the hard truth that sets you free once you accept it. You are not in control of anything outside of yourself. And the sooner you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, the faster you discover something far more powerful. Peace. We often don't realize it, but most of our anger comes from resistance, from our refusal to accept what is. Your friend didn't respond the way you expected, so you get angry. Your coworker missed a deadline, you feel disrespected. Your child made a mistake, you lose your temper. But what's really happening here? You're not angry because of what happened. You're angry because it didn't happen how you wanted. The blueprint in your mind didn't match reality. And now you're in emotional rebellion against life itself. This is a losing battle, every single time. Control is a mental construct. It gives the illusion of safety, the sense that we're holding the wheel. But life is unpredictable. People are autonomous. And outcomes are never guaranteed. The more tightly you grip, the more tension you create. Imagine trying to hold water in your hands by squeezing your fist. The tighter you clench, the more water escapes. That's what control does to your peace. True wisdom lies not in trying to control life, but in learning how to respond to it. There's a difference between control and influence. You cannot control people, but you can influence them through your presence, your example, and your energy. You cannot control events, but you can control how you frame them. And you cannot control outcomes, but you can control your effort and your attitude. That's real power. When you relinquish control, you don't become passive. You become strategic. You stop wasting emotional energy on things you can't change and start investing in things you can. This shift changes everything. Letting go of control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop forcing. It means you allow space for life to unfold without needing to manipulate the outcome. Use this mantra daily. I accept what I cannot change. I act on what I can, and I surrender the rest. Do your best and release the need for specific results. Set intentions, not ultimatums. When something doesn't go your way, don't rush to label it as bad. Step back. Give life time to reveal the bigger picture. Instead of, why is this happening to me, ask, What is this here to teach me? Curiosity opens the door to growth. Control slams it shut. Once you understand that peace is not found in the mastery of others, but in the mastery of self, you walk lighter. You stop being tossed by the waves of disappointment and unmet expectations. You no longer explode when things go wrong, because you've realized nothing is really wrong, just different from what you expected. You begin to flow with life instead of fighting it. And in that flow, there is profound peace. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the absence of resistance to what is. So the next time you feel yourself tightening, trying to control the moment, pause. Ask yourself, what am I really trying to control here? And can I let it go? Often, just that question is enough to loosen the grip. And when the grip loosens, the soul breathes. Why do we flare up so quickly? Why do certain words, looks, or actions cause a firestorm within us, even when they seem minor on the surface? The answer is simple, yet profound. You don't react to the present. You react to your pain, that flash of anger, that tightening in your chest, that sudden urge to lash out. It's not just about what happened now. It's about every unhealed moment from your past that the present just awakened. When your emotional wounds are unresolved, your nervous system becomes a battlefield, and anything can feel like an attack. We all carry wounds. Some from childhood, others from betrayal, disappointment, abandonment, or failure. These wounds don't just sit quietly. They become triggers like emotional landmines. Someone ignores your message. Your inner wound whispers, "You're not important." A colleague criticizes your idea. The voice says, "You're not good enough." A loved one forgets something meaningful. The wound shouts, "You're always overlooked." And suddenly, you're not just responding to the situation, you're reacting to every buried emotion you've never truly faced. This is why small things feel so big, because they echo past pain. Have you ever been told you're overreacting? It stings, doesn't it? But here's the deeper truthing: you're not overreacting. You're reacting to something that hasn't healed. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But it also means your freedom lies in healing, not in blaming the world for your anger. When you heal the root, you stop bleeding over things that barely scratch the surface. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel anger again. It means you'll understand it. You'll create space between the trigger and the response. You'll ask why instead of reacting with "how dare you." You begin to shift from unconscious reaction to conscious response. And that right there is maturity. That is power. Here's what that transformation looks like. You recognize the wound before it speaks for you. You breathe instead of burst. You pause instead of pounce. You reflect instead of retaliate. That space between emotion and expression, that's where your healing lies. That's where your growth begins. Stop pretending you're fine. Be honest about where it hurts, even if it's from years ago. Recognition is the first act of self-respect. Don't rush to fix it. Don't numb it. Sit with your anger. Ask it all, what are you here to show me? Emotion is a messenger. Honor its message. Take a journal and write. The last time I felt this way was. You'll uncover patterns that point directly to your root wound. Speak to yourself like a nurturing guardian would. Say, "I see you. I understand why you hurt. But you are safe now." These words may seem simple, but they're medicine to the soul. Forgiveness isn't about excusing others. It's about releasing yourself from carrying the past into your present. When you forgive, you reclaim your peace. When you begin to heal, you don't just stop reacting. You start choosing how to respond. That's emotional sobriety. It's the moment you realize you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to prove your worth through confrontation. You're no longer a puppet of your pain. You become the master of your mind. Every reaction is a mirror. Heal the reflection and the mirror softens. So ask yourself, what part of me is asking for healing when I get angry? That question doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. And wisdom is the soil where peace grows. Why do certain words pierce us so deeply? Why can someone else's opinion unravel our peace? Why does criticism feel like a personal attack, while praise makes us feel whole, if only temporarily? It's because when your sense of worth depends on external validation, You surrender your emotional stability to the world around you. This is not just a bad habit, it's a trap, a prison disguised as praise, a cycle where your mood, your confidence, and your peace swing back and forth like a pendulum, controlled not by you, but by others. To be free, you must reclaim your self-worth from the hands of others. Until you do, anger and agitation will always be just one opinion away. As humans, we are wired to connect, to belong, to be seen. From childhood, we learn to associate approval with love, praise with value, and achievement with acceptance. A parent's nod of pride, a teacher's compliment, a boss's recognition, each feels good. But when we start needing it to feel whole, it becomes dangerous. We begin to base our identity on feedback. We measure ourselves by how many likes we get, how many compliments we receive, how quickly others affirm our choices. And what happens when that praise doesn't come? We feel invisible, insufficient, angry. But the truth is, you were never lacking. You were just waiting for someone else to tell you what you should have told yourself all along. Think about it. If someone's approval makes your day, then their disapproval can break it. If one compliment lifts you, one criticism can crush you. This is not confidence, it's dependency. This dependency creates emotional fragility. You become hypersensitive, easily triggered, and constantly reactive. You're no longer anchored in truth. You're floating in the opinions of others, and people can sense it. They know when your buttons are easy to push. Let someone disagree with you. You lash out. Let someone ignore your effort. You grow resentful. Let someone criticize your idea. You feel personally attacked. This is how emotional dependency robs you of peace and makes anger your default reaction. Now here's the good news. Emotional independence is not only possible, it's your birthright. You don't have to depend on applause to feel worthy. You don't need to be liked to live with dignity. But to reclaim this power, you must do three things. The world is loud, but your soul is quiet. The more time you spend in silence, through prayer, journaling, or solitude, the more you learn to hear your own truth. That voice is not there to impress anyone. It already knows you're enough. Ask yourself often, if no one clapped, would I still do this? If no one praised me, would I still feel proud? When your answer is yes, you've found freedom. You are not your achievements. You are not your mistakes. You are not your job title, your following, or your appearance. You are a soul. Timeless, valuable, and whole. Affirm this daily. I am not what others say I am. I am who I know myself to be. When your worth comes from within, the noise quiets down. Stop chasing approval and cultivating alignment. Do the right thing not for recognition, but because it feels right in your spirit. The applause of the crowd fades, but the approval of your conscience stays. A person who no longer craves validation is unshakable. Their confidence is quiet, their peace is deep, and their spirit is calm. They don't overact because they no longer need to prove anything. They are free. When the world no longer defines you, the world can no longer disturb you. So next time someone's words try to steal your peace, pause. Ask yourself, is my worth so fragile that it can be shaken by this? You'll find that when you begin to validate yourself, others' opinions become just that, opinions, not verdicts. And that is liberation. We live in a world that worships speed, applauds reaction, and mistakes noise for power. But in the deepest battles of life, it is not the loudest voice that wins. It is the calmest one. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of mastery. And yet, most people ignore it. When you are still, truly still, you are untouchable. You are no longer dancing to the rhythm of everyone else's chaos. You begin to see clearly, feel deeply, and respond wisely. Stillness is strength disguised as silence. And in a world that constantly tries to provoke you, your stillness becomes your shield. Most people can't sit in stillness because they are terrified of what they'll hear. The noise outside drowns the discomfort within. That's why they always need to react, speak, text, post, argue. Stillness forces you to face yourself. It strips away the distractions and leaves you alone with your thoughts, your wounds, your truth. But here's the paradox. The peace you crave is buried beneath the noise you fear to silence. Until you find comfort in stillness, you will always be disturbed by others. Have you ever seen someone remain calm in the middle of chaos? They don't flinch. They don't raise their voice. They don't need to prove a point. And yet, somehow, their calm unsettles the room more than any scream ever could. That is power. It is not a power over others. It is a power over self. And there is no higher form of mastery. When someone tries to provoke you, and you remain still, you are not passive. You are powerful. You are saying with your presence, I will not lower my frequency to match your storm. Stillness is not just a spiritual concept. It has measurable impact. When you're still, your mind clears. You're not reacting, you're discerning. You're not impulsive, you're intentional. Stillness trains your nervous system to withstand pressure without collapse. You stop leaking energy over trivial matters. In a room full of emotional chaos, the still person becomes the anchor. People feel safer around you, drawn to your calm. Let's be honest, stillness isn't something you stumble into. You must train for it. Like a muscle, it grows with practice. When triggered, pause. Don't respond immediately. Don't send that text. Don't raise your voice. Sit with the discomfort. Observe it. Name it. That pause is sacred. It gives you time to choose wisdom over reaction. You don't need to become a monk. Just 5-10 minutes of intentional silence each day trains your mind to stop chasing every thought. Use your breath. When anger rises, breathe deeper. When offense knocks, exhale it. The breath is a bridge from chaos to calm. Solitude is not loneliness. It is communion with your higher self. Walk alone, write alone, reflect alone. In those moments, you'll find answers you can't hear in a crowd. Stillness needs space. Protect your peace. Not everyone deserves access to your emotional energy. Say no, log off, walk away, unplug. Your inner peace is not public property. Stillness isn't just helpful, it's divine. It's the place where you connect with God, your higher self, your purpose. In that sacred space, the noise fades, the ego quiets, and the truth emerges. You stop being shaken by people because your foundation is not built on their behavior. It's built on eternal truth. Still waters run deep. Shallow minds stir easily. So ask yourself, what would life feel like if I didn't need to respond to everything? Who would I become if stillness was my first language? The answer is simple. You'd become free. Replay again and again, hoping to change an ending that's already written. And as we carry these wounds, anger festers, not just at others, but within ourselves. But here's the truth. You cannot be free while holding on to what hurt you. Forgiveness is not a gift for the other person. It's a gift you give yourself. It is the final freedom from anger, the release of emotional chains, and the decision to reclaim your peace, no matter what they did. Forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of the wrong. It means you refuse to let it control you any longer. Let's be honest. Some wounds go deep. You might feel like forgiving would let them off the hook, as if your pain never mattered. But hear this clearly, forgiveness is not about denying pain. It's about deciding that pain no longer gets to run your life. Anger masquerades as protection. We think if we stay mad, we stay strong. But that's the great illusion. Anger keeps us locked in the past. Forgiveness breaks the lock. It's not forgetting. It's not reconciling. It's releasing. When you don't forgive, the person who hurt you continues to control you. Not physically, but emotionally. They live rent-free in your mind. They shape your moods, influence your relationships, and steal your peace. And often, they don't even know or care. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting them to suffer. But it's your body that carries the bitterness, your heart that carries the weight, your soul that loses its joy. You can't live fully while dragging the past behind you. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a decision, a conscious daily act of letting go. It's saying, you will not control my peace. I choose healing over hate. I refuse to be anchored in the past. It's a choice to unclench your fists and open your heart to yourself. Don't minimize it. Don't excuse it. Name what happened. Let yourself grieve. You cannot heal what you don't feel. Real forgiveness starts with truth, not denial. Some people will never say sorry. Some don't think they're wrong. Some aren't capable of accountability. Waiting for closure from them gives them power. You don't need their words to be whole. You need your own permission to move forward. Ask yourself, Is this anger helping me become the person I want to be? Usually the answer is no. Anger hardens the heart. Forgiveness softens it so you can rise, evolve, and lead your life without change. Forgiveness is not always a one-time event. It comes in waves. Some days it's easier, some days it stinks. That's okay. Each time you forgive again, the weight grows lighter. You're peeling back pain and replacing it with peace. When you forgive, you free your spirit. You rise above the petty. You stop being a prisoner of the past. You stop reacting and start living with intention. You become a soul not easily disturbed, not easily provoked. Why? Because you've dealt with your demons. You've emptied the emotional backpack. That lightness is your power. True strength is not in how hard you hit, but in how quickly you heal. So ask yourself, who do I need to forgive? Not just for them, but for me. What pain have I carried long enough? Make the decision today, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. To never get angry or bothered by anyone isn't about suppressing emotions or pretending nothing affects you. It's about mastering your inner world so deeply, so spiritually, that the external no longer shakes you. It's about becoming the kind of person who walks through life with a calm fire in their soul, who chooses stillness over chaos, forgiveness over resentment, and truth over reaction. This is not weakness. This is power, and it's yours to claim. Right now, we live in a world where anger is celebrated, where being offended is a badge of honor and reacting is mistaken for strength. But the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. The most evolved souls are not easily disturbed. You have within you a reservoir of peace that no one can touch unless you hand them the key. The journey to becoming unbothered isn't about detaching from life. It's about engaging with it from a place of strength, presence, and clarity. You stop being angry when you realize your peace is more valuable than any argument. You stop being bothered when you realize your purpose is more important than your pride. You stop being reactive when you realize no one has the right to interrupt your inner harmony unless you grant them that access. This is the true work, the real wealth, not gold or status or applause, but becoming a master of your emotions, a steward of your soul. You were not made to live in reaction. You were made to rise in wisdom. So walk into this next chapter not just calm, but rooted, not just unbothered, but aligned. And remember, every moment is a chance to respond with grace or react with ego. The choice is yours. And that choice, made daily, becomes your legacy.